Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Coffee with Casey, where we sit down, take a few minutes to go over what's happening in the market. Today I have Mike Filan from First Heritage Mortgage with me today. And we're going to go over, you know, it's funny. Every time I do this show, it's like, all right, this is the best show ever. I mean, this is more important stuff than we've ever had. And I got to think that we say that on every show we do. But this is pretty unique. So we have 5 elements right now that I would call a perfect storm for sellers. And normally we think that on June the 15th, everybody goes to the beach and they don't come back. Well, in some years that's true, not in this year. So this is going to be a very dynamic year, very different summer than we're used to. And there's 5 reasons we're going to point out and go over that. The reason I have Mike here is because the lending community and the lending rates are going to have a big impact on what we're about to talk to. But first, before we do that, I got to go back to Ireland, man. I got to talk about this for just a little while and how it affects who we are and what we do. So we go to Ireland for 2 weeks. And, you know, I always think that our customer service here or the way we treat people is the gold standard. Like, I look at Disney as the gold standard, right? Disney, incredible people. Universal Studios, terrible, right? So that's what you want to look for. And great American restaurants, I always consider them to be, you know.
Absolutely.
Sweetwater, Coastal, Artie's. I consider those people that wait on you to be the gold standard of restaurants. So much so that they spoil us. So we go to Ireland. We're not even in the same league as these people. I mean, I'm telling you, Irish hospitality is so much higher than a Disney or, you know, what we're used to. I'm shocked. I'm flabbergasted at how nice everybody is, how they want you to be there, how they're glad to see you, how they're willing to do anything you want. And again, I'll give you the example online that I gave the other day in our meeting is we round the turn, we're playing golf, I get to 9 or getting ready to go to 10, and I walk in the clubhouse and say, can I get a Bloody Mary? And she's like, I don't know what a Bloody Mary is, but you'll have one within 2 holes.
It's amazing.
So I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And it's like, okay. So I just went out and started playing, and I'm putting out on the 2nd hole, and I look up, and here she comes, walking down the fairway with a tray of 2 glass Bloody Marys.
It's amazing.
And she brings it out to you, but that's the kind of over the top, like when they do housekeeping or, you know, they come in and clean up your room for the day, they don't just clean your room up. They fold all your stuff. It's all perfect. It's laid out by colors. Dude,
above and beyond.
It is wild. And
it's amazing.
Whatever you do, whether you're in a pub or whether you're in a hotel or a cab driver that's driving you around. We had a guy drive us around the Ring of Kerry and then call us back to make sure that we all had a great time and, you know, about where we should go to a restaurant that night. I'm like, you know, it's just... So I came back to the team and I said, guys, we think we're really good, but we got to think of some things that are over the top. So when we talk about hospitality now, you know, I used to say to some sellers, it's like we try and get on that gold standard, that Disney standard here, Irish hospitality up here. So if anybody has an opportunity to go to Ireland, man, go to Ireland. It's a ball. You know, we walked into the oldest pub in there, Brazen Head pub, built in 1200.
Oh, wow.
This is like where you go to, so whatever. They bring us down, sit us next to the band. I mean, we're sitting next to these guys, you know, with the fiddles and all that stuff. Close the bar down with them. They're drinking with us. And by the way, just kind of by the way, people over in Europe love us. They love us. They love America. They're so inquisitive. They have so many questions. They're asking about Trump or this or that or, well, you know, politics. I mean, they are inquisitive about us, and when they found out, you know, we were Americans or where we were from, they brought us down, and I mean, they sat us right down in the front, and it was a packed pub. Nice. But I found the hospitality to be just way over the top, and so I came back and said, how can we get to another level, you know? So, and I consider your guys, the reason why we bring all this stuff to First Heritage is I consider, you know, all the people we've met at First Heritage to be, you know, the underwriters and, you know, yourself and all these, to be the gold standard of lenders, and there's others, but we consider you guys to be gold standard of service, or we wouldn't refer it out. But I have to tell you, there's different levels out there, and I didn't even realize it. So, anyways, let's get to the business at hand today. Let's get to the business at hand. Why is it that this summer is different than the other summers? And there's really 5 reasons, okay? And the first reason we're going to start with is, and let's go ahead and if we can bring up the first page on that, Julie, let's go with the mortgage rates. All right, so this is a chart that you're looking at right now on mortgage rates that happened over the last, I guess I've got 1 year, yes, 1 year. And you can see that early January, they were up around they're almost 5%.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So they're almost 5%. Right now, 3.84. So the power, let's talk about the power of falling interest rates, okay? So if I was going to buy a house, a $500,000 house, let's say people don't go off of what the value of the house is, they go off of what the payment's going to be.
Certainly.
So if I'm going to pay $2,600 a month and rates are at 5%,
right,
I can buy one level house.
Right.
At 3.84, I'm buying a far different house, right? So let's talk about the spread.
Sure. For the difference in payment, when last fall into January, rates were close to 5%, looking at a $2,500 mortgage payment,
right,
you could buy a $400,000 house. Where rates have come down now to 3.875 or in that range, your buying power has gone up $50,000. I mean, from $400,000 to $450,000.
I did that thing, and I came to about 12.5 to 15% change in difference of what you can. I mean, so let's think about this. Instead of buying a $500,000 house, you can buy a $575.
Sure.
Now, as a realtor that takes people out, I can guarantee you that if they say I'm looking for a 500, they're going to buy a 600. Right. And if they're looking for a 900, they're going to buy a million. And because inherently it's they want and they can afford, or they want to pay this, but they want this house.
Right.
So, eventually they pay that money and pay more. But now you can actually get that 10, 12, 14% more house, right?
Absolutely.
Because rates are down,
yeah,
right?
It's exciting.
So the main driver of what's about to happen is the interest rates. And I think it's finally seeping into the system that people are starting to get it. It's like, oh my gosh, it's in the spring, it's basically a want and need. And in summer, it's usually need. Right. I just need to move, and that's why the market goes down. But I think there's going to be a lot more I want to. So the want tos and needs are definitely going to both be here.
Certainly.
And so the first driver is the mortgages. So let's talk about the spread. When rates go up to 5%,
right,
a lot of times we bring into it a 10-year ARM, which means...
Right, and an ARM is an adjustable rate mortgage. So
right.
A 10-year ARM is still a 30-year term on a loan, the 30-year amortization, but the interest rate is fixed for the first 10 years. After that 10 years, it can vary.
It can go. And is it still attached to the LIBOR? Because the
Most
LIBOR is almost non-existent. It's so low.
Yeah, it depends on the program. Some are on the 1-year Treasury and some are on the LIBOR.
So what that means is that after that 10 years, the mortgage adjusts to the LIBOR rate plus an index of 2.5% or 2.75. Right. So that means you could start at 4, and if the LIBOR was 1.5, you would adjust to 4. So it would really be a wash.
Right.
So when high interest rates, people have to resort to those kind of loans,
programs,
right?
Certainly.
So now we have rates down at 3.85, which really says two things. One, get a 30-year loan or 15-year loan.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, for the 15-year loan, it's probably another 0.5% lower. So, if you can afford it, you're looking in the low 3s. It's unbelievable rates.
So let's talk about long-term planning for these, when these buyers are looking at this. So if you're 35 years old, by 50 years old, your loan's paid off. That's pretty powerful. I mean, I wish I was smarter when I was younger. But really, that's basically, this is an opportunity for people to say, well, instead of buying the 575, maybe I do buy the 500, but I get a 15-year loan. I'm down at 3.25, and I'm paid off in 15 years.
Right.
So, the goal, I guess, now at my age, you're trying to get your debt down and your assets up and income up.
Sure.
So that's a good way to kind of knock that debt out by the time you're 50. So anyways, the first driver of what's about to happen are the interest rates. Now, are you starting to see more people? You are the canary.
Right.
So the canary in the mine is the first indicator that there's either a problem or no problem.
Right.
So when you are busy doing pre-qualifications, that means buyers get it and they're coming in.
Sure.
So what are you seeing these days?
We're seeing a lot of activity.
A lot of it.
And I think a lot of it comes down to a mental block around 4% for a lot of people. Over the last couple of years, I don't know how many people I talk to that are like, wow, I don't think I can ever move. I locked in at 3.375 kind of thing on a 30-year loan, and now rates are close to 5%. Like, I don't think I can move. Now that rates are like down into the threes again, we're seeing a lot of activity, and a lot of people are thinking, wow, I wanted to downsize, or I wanted to move up, or those kinds of things.
And that gives them an opportunity, and when they are moving up, maybe that is the time, because they've already owned a house for a while, so maybe that's the opportunity to get into that 15-year and start knocking that thing down as quick as they can. But I agree, there's barriers, right? So that's a great word for it, because real estate is the exact same way. Some people, I'm not going to buy anything over 900,000. Right? Just give me everything under 800, under 900. So, and a seller may say, I'm not taking anything under 900. That's a barrier for them. There's a barrier for both of them, But the key is that most people, if you look at the big thresholds like 800, 850, 900, the buyer pool under 900 may be this big, and over 900 is that big. Why? Because of the exact same thing you just talked about. People don't want to go over certain barriers. Okay, so that's why when we price houses, we come to what is the house worth, and then what are the barriers? Where is the bigger buyer pool, and drive them in. And just to digress 1 second, so we will often go in and say, it's 910. I think we should go in at 899. Because it's a much bigger buyer pool, and let's go with that. So in the last 1,000 days, we have had 85 instances where we've gone here, and it's come, it's over, we sell it over list price. And sometimes it's 20, 30, 40. This spring we had one that sold for 100,000 over list price.
Amazing.
And it was only going to appraise for what we listed it for. It's the barrier that people have to get over. My neighbor sold for this. I'm not going out there for less than that. But really, when you think about it, you need to first understand what the value of your house is. Then you need to go for that barrier. Okay. All right. So let's go to the second one. The second reason why is, you've read about Amazon and you read about all this, but basically the unemployment rate in Fairfax County right now, and I use that as an indicator, it's down at 2.1%. Now, there's more than 2.1% of the people that are saying, you know what, I'll take unemployment. I'm cool. I don't want to work. I want to take, this summer of George, right?
Sure.
It's the summer of George. No, you've got 2% unemployment. Now, think about that. 99 out of 100 people have a job, right? That's crazy. I mean, that would be considered full employment. If you want a job, you can get a job. And what makes that more powerful is that if the unemployment rate is so low, let's say you're looking for a job, well, sellers are competing, business or employers are competing for you, which means you're getting stronger wages. So 2% doesn't just mean you have a job, it means you have leverage, you have control, you have the ability to increase your requirements or whatever you're making, you get higher wages. So I think that you've got rates are down enough to impact 12% of the price. Then you have unemployment, which is crazy low right now. And yes, we have Amazon and we have, but there's a lot of things going on. Innova, where we are, ExxonMobil left, and they took 2,500 pretty good paying jobs with them. But Innova is starting basically what comes out to, like the Mayo Clinic for cancer research.
Right.
So they're bringing in 5,000 doctors, and these guys aren't, engineers. These are like some big paying guys. So
High earners, yeah.
guys anyway. But we have some high earners coming into town. Plus, you've got the Amazon people, plus all the ancillary people around Amazon. I'm going to show you the Amazon effect here in a minute, which is pretty dramatic already. And we said, you know, it would take a little time. But I think it will take time to seep into the whole market. But it's affecting some markets right now, and it's pretty dramatic. So number one, low interest rates. Number two, no unemployment. Number three reason why this is going to be a hot summer is if you look at this chart, this is the price per square foot of a 2,500 square foot house in Northern Virginia. So if you look, let's go to 2010, you know, maybe it's $220 a square foot in 2010. It's $220 a square foot in 2019. So basically, our incomes are going up, our interest rates are going down, our price per square foot is about where it was 10 years ago. So that is, you know, now we're starting to look at a perfect storm. You know, we're starting to look at, okay, they have more money, they have jobs, you know, the interest rates are low, so I can buy more house. Now, we're talking about this not being the summer of the buyer. We're talking about this being the summer of the seller, okay? Now, I'm going to give you some buyer tips, so don't let me, Julie, don't let me get out of here without going over some buyer tips of how to negotiate yourself in this market. But for now, we have those three elements that are showing themselves. And now I want to bring up, how do we know that our market is really hot? We're looking at, the one indicator is what you're looking at right now. This is the percentage of homes under $1 million that are under contract. So if 10 houses are on the market, 6.2 are under contract in Arlington. So let me stop for a second and let me talk. This is where inventory kind of comes into this perfect storm. Let me talk about what inventory is. So 30%, 33% of the houses, let's say there's three separate markets. 33% of the houses are well-priced, perfect houses, great, they're going to sell. No matter what market it's in, good market, bad market, stinky market, doesn't matter. 33% are going to sell. 33% are marginal houses. Something wrong. A little overpriced, or a lot of overpriced, or it doesn't have the condition, or it's on a busy road, or something like that. There's some barrier. It's kind of a marginal house. It's not a slam dunk, it's a marginal house. So those are 33% of the market. So then you have 33% of the market, which, what is it Seinfeld said? Seinfeld said something like 90% of the people out here are undateable, right?
Right.
Isn't that what it was?
Yeah.
He said 90% of the people are undateable out here, you know? Well, 33% of the houses are unsaleable because they are either really have a problem or they have a seller that's, you know, perfect example. So I walk into a house, it's worth $1.65 million. Look, it's worth $1.65 million. I'm sorry, that's what your house is worth. I can prove it 5 different ways. Another realtor comes in, it's worth $1.9 million. I think that's what we ought to go out with. So it's going to sit at $1.9 million for 2 years. So those houses are out there. And there's 33%, I think is a generous number. But so let's break that market into the thirds. Well, the 33%, when you see 33% under contract, you know it's an okay market. But anytime it gets over 33%, you're like, man, they're buying a marginal houses. And if you look in Arlington right now, here's sign number one of the effect of what's going on with Amazon. So 62% of the houses in Arlington. Now, last year at this time, before any announcements or anything, that was 33%.
Wow. So it's basically all of the good houses plus all of the marginal houses.
If you hear it slurping, it's coming from Arlington because they are slurping up everything on the market. And this is the most robust market, which is the under $1 million range. Okay, so Oak Hill, 60%. Oak Hill's a bedroom community. It is how far away? 30 minutes away, 45 minutes away from Crystal City. So Oak Hill is hot. Reston is hot. Gainesville is hot. So you can see that 58% of the houses in Reston are, so basically they're eating up all of their marginal houses. Mm-hmm. So if it's marginal, it's going to get a contract. Now, what does that mean? They may beat you up on the price a little bit or whatever, but they're still going under contract. So homes in Reston, homes in Gainesville. Now we get to Fairfax Station. This kind of surprised me a little bit. You know, Fairfax Station is at 50%, so that's a strong market. Falls Church at 47%. Now, Falls Church is different markets, but as a whole, they're 47%. So we're still looking at Haymarket, McLean, Vienna, and Aldi are all in that 42, 44 range. So those are good markets. Now, what that says is that half of the marginal houses are selling, so there's still marginal houses out there, but very, very strong market. So let's say that the interest rates are just now seeping in. I think people are just now getting it. It's like, oh my God, they're down a point, right. Okay? And there's more word getting around, more publicity about that. Interest rates, unemployment, you know, all of these things are starting to come together. I haven't got to the big one yet. But the next one that we're talking about here is there's a lack of inventory.
Right.
I mean, there's a lack of inventory. Now, Oakton, 31%, very upset about that. One of my markets, very upset about that. I cannot believe 31% of the houses. Now, by contrast, 85% of our houses sell in the first 30 days. So 85%, 8.5 out of 10 that we put on the market sell. So there's no excuse why people in Oakton, because that's a major market of ours, there's no excuse why only 31% of those houses is under contract. If everybody else is at 40, 50, 60%, then that's a problem. And I'm going to tell you what the problem is. People think that their house is worth more than it is, and the agents, I blame the agents, I don't blame the sellers, I blame the agents. The agents are not demonstrating the value of the house. So if you put your house on the market in this kind of a market, it's going to be under contract. Mm-hmm. So they just barely are selling the perfect houses. So all the marginal houses, none of them are going under contract. So really, I think it's a combination of high expectations by sellers and low backbone by the realtors actually going in and saying, no, I'm going to tell you, this is, you know, we have a house that goes on the market and we don't, you know, they're way out of, you know, they just can't get their mind wrapped around what it really should be, so we just don't take that listing. But really, once you prove the price, then if they don't bite, that's 10% of the market, and you just say, look, there's nothing you can do.
Sure.
But it's troubling that Oakton is the only one falling behind here. So let's go to the next one. Let's talk about the big boys, and let's go houses that are under contract over $1 million. So Falls Church and Arlington are both at 46%. Again, what does that tell you? It tells you that not only is the effect of Amazon and what's going on up there have on the smaller markets, those are the big ones. Those are the $1 million houses. This is the executive section. So you really are starting to see 46%, or all of the good ones and half of the marginal ones are under contract. That's a monster market right there. So there's the Amazon effect. Now, as you go looking out a little bit farther, it will seep into Vienna, Oakton, McLean. It will start to seep out farther and farther. But right now, the immediate impact is in here. So what's going to happen is this. Prices in Arlington are going to go up. And then people will compare that Arlington house to the Vienna house. So if they go up a little bit right now, eventually there's going to be a spread where people go, well, yeah, I'd rather go to Vienna or McLean or Oakton. And so then that will move up. So I would say that the first movers have happened. The Arlington market has moved. The Alexandria market has moved. The Falls Church market has moved. And now you'll start seeing the other markets starting to catch up.
Sure.
But as far as this tells me, inventory is not really existent in Arlington. You got half of the marginal houses, none of the great houses. So you have to catch the good ones when they come on the market right out of the gate. Fairfax Station, Haymarket, in Vienna, all in the 33. That's good for these size houses because they're a little tougher to sell. So that's still good for these, you know, those houses this time of the year. All the good ones are gone, and now it's just marginal houses that people are dealing with.
Right.
So then you look at, again, McLean and Oakton, 25 and 23%. Just had one in McLean, house worth $3 million. And we put on for $3.7 million. It just doesn't make any sense. Not when, you know, whatever. So not when this few houses are on the market. It just doesn't make any sense. So yes, it's a great market, but I'm going to caution everybody that that doesn't mean you can go out there and overprice your house and get what you want, they're going to pay what the market will pay. So be assured that, whenever somebody says, well, this is what I want. Well, I want a lot of things to do. I'm not going to get it. I want to be able to sing, but I can't sing. And I love to dance, but I can't dance. I love to turn my neck, but I can't turn my neck. So, I know what you want, but it's basically what the market is willing to give you. What God says, this is what your house is going to be worth, or what at least I say it's going to be worth. But so don't run out there and get hit. So that's 4. So we've got interest rates. Unemployment is really, really sick low. What was the other one? Cost per square foot is the same as it was 10 years ago. Now we have an inventory shortage, is what I would call this, an inventory shortage, in that we're basically in a seller's market already.
Right.
Okay. The last one, which is extremely important, and I don't think it's emphasized enough, this is an off-presidential election year. Markets notoriously, well, first of all, markets do not like uncertainty. So it doesn't get any more uncertain than a presidential election year. And as I said in the newspaper, this one's going to be a doozy. I mean, there's going to be rockets fired at each other for as if they're not already firing at each other. But an election year gets a little more intense because the anxiety is who's going to win.
Right.
Clearly, somebody's going to be everybody's going to be unhappy. Half the people are going to be unhappy no matter what happens. But it's that uncertainty, that anxiety that comes into the market that kind of puts a damper on consumer confidence. So if you look at, the presidential election years, 2016, 2012, those were all tough years. Right. And the non-election year is a good year. So there's your 5th reason. This is a non-election year, fairly stable, low unemployment, low interest rates, low prices. And I don't care, bless her heart, we're going to lose Leslie. She's going to Richmond. And, and Leslie is going to Richmond. The house costs, she's just looked at the houses down there. They cost a little bit less than up here, don't they? Okay, a little bit. But everything is relative in that incomes and housing, and what that comes up with is what's called an affordability index. What does the average person make in order to buy the average house? Right. In other words, if I make just enough to buy the average house, then it's 100%, okay? And, we go somewhere between 135 and 145% of the affordability index in this area. So we do have higher cost housing, but we also have more
higher wages.
Right. And so that's really what kind of does it for you. So those are the elements of why we have a seller's market that's really. Now let's talk about your buyers. Let me see what else I got here. Oh yeah. So I'm going to bring up this chart, which kind of is I shake my head. So this is the success rate of homes that sell within the first 10 days, and that's in green. And then it's homes that sell in 30 days or less. Now, understand this. The chart of people that go on the market and look at your house in the beginning is very high. When it comes out, everybody's looking. And then it dwindles down. So within 15 days, it's a trickle. It's just a little trickle. So you've really got to sell that house in the first. So, we work really hard on making sure our houses are priced right so they're in that first 10 days because that's when they get the maximum price per square foot. And if we don't catch them, then we make sure we fix it and they sell within the first 30 days. The average, even in this market, 25% of the homes for the rest of the market sell in the first 10 days. So that's your prime time. That's when you've got to get out and you've got to sell it in that first 10 days or the market's going to kind of flutter away in today's market. The blue, as I said, is the first 30 days. So the rest of the market, 40% of the houses sell in that first 30-day period. So, what's the difference between us selling 85, them selling 30, and top producers, if we take the top 10 top producers that we work, with, 27% of their houses sell in the first 30 days. 27, 1 out of 4 houses sell. Well, top producers like inventory, and they like to get a lot of inventory, and they like to advertise a lot of inventory, and like to hold a lot of inventory. I don't like to hold inventory because the longer your house sits, the longer it's going to get. So our agents, so you have Pat and Billy and Morgan and Kelly and Shayna and Colby and Pam. And so these are 7 agents, and they know that right there. They know that the highest price per square foot is coming in that first. So they are anxious, and they're busting their tail to get this thing sold within 30 days because they know after that the price starts to drop. So, sometimes that anxiousness comes across, like we're working hard to get that done. But in most of the field, you won't see that. And that comes from overpricing. And I'm going to tell everybody this. I'm going to say it again. You can either drive the bus or you can get hit by the bus. So if you're in the first 10 days, you're driving the bus. I mean, you're driving the bus. You can ask for whatever you want. You can get rent backs, free rent backs, longer terms, whatever you want. But if you've been on for 120 days, you're going to get hit by a bus. And I'm telling you, it's going to be a big bus. And that means you have their terms, their home inspections, all of these things are working against you after a certain period of time. But more important than that, to be honest with you, I mean, most of my sellers are, 50, 60, 70. We only have so much. I'm learning this more and more. We only have so much of 3 things at this age: time, energy, and money.
Right.
Okay? And there's no sense, those are all very valuable commodities. So the sooner you can get with the best terms, you save your time, you save your energy, and which I think energy is more important than anything, because energy will kill you.
Certainly.
And then the last one is we only have so much money.
Right.
So, and let me put a number on that. The difference between you selling in the first 10 days and you selling it at 120 days is 10%. So if your house is $1 million, the number is $100,000 is at stake. So you have $100,000 at stake. And we show you example after example after example. So really, you need to be thoughtful about pricing. But here's the next thing you need to be thoughtful about. And God bless, Julie and Michelle. I'm going to just show you this chart. This is what a dashboard looks like. This is what we look at, Julie and Michelle and I and the agents all look like. And this chart shows that we've advertised some homes and we've what called boosted the ad. And again, I'm going to knock it off with the sellers in a minute. We're going to talk buyers. When you price a house and you put together all the beautiful things and you put together your magic and your web pages and all that stuff, you need to take that house and you need to find out who's the buyer for that house. What's the market? Who is it? 30-somethings, 40-somethings, 50-somethings? Do they live here? Do they live in Arlington? Do they live in Alexander? Where are these people coming from? And then you boost that ad to those people using Google Ads, Facebook, Instagram. What was it you just said? Live TV? What were you saying? Instagram Live. We do Instagram, right, too. So all of these things are boosted to direct audiences. So here's the result. And I don't know if you can see it on Facebook, but I'm going to read this second one. So 164 people opened that magical ad and went to the house. Those were the boosted ones. The ones that we did not boost to, the organic group that just kind of went out to everybody, 7 people owned it. So 7 people opened it if it wasn't boosted to the correct group, and 164 went to that group. So you can't ignore that kind of volume or that kind of exposure that house. So maybe that's why, and I'll credit Julie and Michelle and the group that and the alt agents. We take our time to find out who's our market, boost it to it, and I'll bet I'm going to find more buyers from the 164 people than I am from the 7.
Certainly.
And if you look down, they're all 199, 3.
You can see why your success rate's 3 times the other top producers with how thorough you guys are and pricing right and targeting the audience.
Yeah, but you know what? I will say this, and again, I'm going to say this is so funny. This lady looked at me and goes, well, work your magic. Work your magic. And I said, the pricing is my magic. Mm-hmm. That is the magic. And Julie can do this incredible job, and the website. Michelle can put up these beautiful websites, and we can boost them. We can get everybody. We can march everybody in that door. But man, nobody's going to buy it if it's overpriced.
Right.
So the magic that we do is in pricing it right and then giving it maximum exposure. So all right. So that goes for that's the seller. Why it's a seller's market. Don't get hit by the bus. Drive the bus. Make sure your pricing is accurate. Do your marketing the way you should, the way the new world does it. And again, we've had that discussion on why, how we draw that off of the West Coast and how they do it out there, and that's where we learn this. But it is effective and it does work. So let's go on the other side. Let's go with the buyers, okay?
Sure.
So you have a lot of pre-quals going on.
We do.
Are they getting the houses they want? Are you pre-qualing them, not finding what they're looking for, or are they finding it?
I think now they're finding it more than they were in March or April.
Okay.
And maybe there's a little bit more inventory or a little less competition. Some of the people that were coming in, in March and April and May have gotten their contracts.
Right.
But yeah, there are a lot of buyers. I think with rates coming down, we're seeing more and more activity. And also, like you were talking about with the election year, stocks have gone up so much over the last, 2-3 years. From the Dow was at 18,000, and now it's at 26, 27,000.
Yeah.
So people's savings accounts, 401k accounts,
they're feeling richer.
Things, they're feeling richer. It's all the consumer confidence, like you were talking about. When the wallet's fatter and the rates have come down, people are more willing to buy.
Yeah. So, and most of the buyers are all going with 30-year fix now. The margins aren't, the margin between a 10-year arm are so small that the recommendations now for 10-year arms is out.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. Traditionally, there's probably a full point spread between a 30-year fixed and an arm. So if a 30-year fixed was at 4%, you might be able to get 3 on an arm. Right now, rates have dropped so quickly, like you were showing in your chart, in October, November, December, January, rates were close to 5. They've dropped below 4 now.
Right.
That it's kind of squeezed those margins on the arms. Maybe we'll see over the next few months the margins come back, but right now it's definitely a 30-year fixed loan.
And I think that's also key to markets do change.
Right.
So just like when you analyze is a 30-year or a 10-year better, you got to do that on a day-by-day basis, because sometimes that's in play. Somebody just came out with a big arm. Let's take advantage of it. So you got to do that. And the same holds true with the pricing in the houses and the markets. I mean, some markets are really great and some markets are not good. So you need to analyze the market, just like you analyze what's the best loan at the time. We have to analyze what is the market. Are we strong? Are we weak? The house for $3 million, only 16% of those houses are under contract.
Right.
So that's a weak market. You need to make sure that you're solid on that price, when you do that. So the buyers, let's talk about some tips for the buyers when they're going out. So we know that pretty much everywhere the great houses are under contract. Right. So a great house comes in, they get under contract, they have multiple contracts, you have bidding. A lot of people have lost bidding wars. You've had buyers that have gone out, and
certainly,
I'm sure you do pre-qualification letters.
Yeah, and I think one of the big things that listing agents are looking for, and is, are they with a local lender?
Yeah.
Is this deal going to close? Is the main concern for all parties. And a lot of times with the big banks, things don't go in a timely schedule. They miss closing dates, all those kinds of things. So I think a correspondent lender like us gives a good advantage. Okay. We also, go ahead.
As a listing agent, I won't take Wells Fargo, and I won't take Bank of America, and I don't want to take, some of these big banks, because you're right, they're not here. Mm-hmm. And when it does come to settlement and you're making phone calls, you're calling a 1-800 number.
Right.
And programs come and go in some banks.
Sure.
And they use, and again, I just sold a house for a guy that was in the head of the mortgage department of Navy Federal Credit Union, and he admitted, he goes, they are required to use certain appraisers from some places that have nowhere, they have different rules.
Right.
So you don't have a local lender, you don't have a local appraiser. So
Very
the
important.
appraisers came in all whacked out, and we want to have a smooth transaction from beginning to end. And again, a part of that customer service is identifying the problems before the problems happen. So we literally will only accept lenders that are local lenders. I mean, there's enough of them. There's probably 5 really great correspondent lenders that we know that if that guy or that girl says, if Vicky Warnick says it, it's in, no problem. I think she goes by my name now. I don't know. Anyways, and if Mike says it, then that's just what's going to happen. You know, if you say it, that's just what's going to happen. So we're trying to protect our sellers, and if you want to win a multiple contract presentation and you have the name of First Heritage or McLean Mortgage, or, you know, some of the good mortgage companies, the top producing agents feel comfortable with that.
Right.
You know?
And I think the main reason why is thoroughness. I mean, when we pre-approve somebody, we get all of their documentation. I mean, we pull their credit, we get their pay stubs, tax returns, bank statements, and make sure that they actually will be able to go buy this house.
Right.
Because there are a lot of times people have, you know, things written off on their tax returns that might bring their income down later in underwriting.
Complicated.
Yeah,
they have complicated financial statements.
Certainly,
Yeah.
certainly.
Yeah.
And where a lot of the big banks, it might just be somebody that's sitting at a desk in the bank branch that just says, all right, how much do you make? And writes down what the person tells them and doesn't even verify it and gives them a pre-approval.
You can throw the Quicken Loan stuff right out of the window.
Right.
Because they just say, what's your credit? A. Really? What do you make? This. What kind of assets you have? That. Okay, you're pre-approved for this number. And we're not going to accept that. So you want to, as a buyer, give yourself as much advantage as possible when you're going after these houses, because you're competing for the good houses. I mean, you're really competing for the good houses.
Certainly.
So for that, best lenders, you know, if you're putting down a substantial amount of money, you know what the house is worth. You can waive the appraisal. Anything you can pull out of that to give comfort to the seller that you don't have a way of getting kicked out of it, that's even better. Another way, if you're going after that 33% of really prime properties, you know, a lot of times you have a home inspector on standby, and they're going to listen to contracts on Monday afternoon. Get the home inspector in there on Monday. Walk the house with me for $150 and see if you can identify any real problems in this house. If not, submit my contract without a home inspection.
Brilliant.
It's a big deal. So if we see no home inspection, no appraisal, and let's say you're $10,000 less than that guy, then we will say, look, I love you. I love the fact that your terms, but can you match that $10,000? And they'll say, of course. They'll say, yes, we'll definitely do it. So, you know, those are all things that as a buyer in this market, because it's going to be a tough buyer's market. I mean, it's a seller's market. In most places, it's going to be a seller's market. So if you're going to go after those good houses, then those are the things you need to consider. If you're going to go after, another thing you might want to think about is the marginal houses. So why is it a marginal house? People are terrible sometimes at pricing their house, and that's what it basically comes. So let's say a house is worth $950. House is worth $900. I told sellers, do not go over $900. Do not go over $900. Do not go over $900. Another agent walks in, it's worth $950. They put on for $950. It's been sitting there for I don't know, let's call it 6 months at least. So you just went through one of the best springs of all time and you couldn't sell it. Why? Because you're at $950 and not $900. Well, now's the time to circle back to those, as a buyer, circle back and say, I will give you $875 or I'll give you, $900, but I can prove that the house is worth $900,000. So in fact, some people would think, well, I don't want to put in a low number because it'll make the seller angry. It's not a low number if you prove the value is what you say it is.
Right.
So Pam is waiting right now for me to do a pricing model on a house that she wants to submit a contract in. So we'll say, the house may be worth X, but this is what it's actually worth. And I can prove it, price per square foot, percentage of assessments. This exactly is what this house is worth. So go into homes that are overpriced, make your contract at the price that it really should be at, and that way you take that marginal house and you really make it a premium house, because at $900, it's a premium house.
Right.
So don't be afraid to go out and prove your price. And another thing for you buyers is when you hook up with big listing agents, like we'll do, $75, $80 million worth of just listings every year. So we always have 12 listings sitting there waiting, and they're waiting. And they come on 2 or 3 a week, but we have some that are different stages. We have a new home that's coming out that once it hits the market, it's gone.
Right.
So the best time to get in and see that, we're going to have, I think they call it a dirty boots open house. In other words, it's not totally finished. driveway might not be in, but all the kitchen and everything, the flooring is awesome.
Unbelievable.
So get clients in there early. Look to the agents, and don't be afraid to go through listing agents, because when, a listing agent, if he has 5 contracts and all things being equal and one of them's coming through the listing agent knows that he has more control and he doesn't have to deal with some maybe tough or grumpy or, agents that are trying to get everything they can from the seller and all that stuff. NVAR rules require that you have, the ethics, where you got to have a home inspection, you got to have appraisal, you got to cover yourself.
Sure.
So you're going to get that anywhere, but don't be afraid to go through that listing agent, because, the listing agent, if all things being equal, they'll take that contract.
Right.
So you want to be considerate about that.
Yeah, you have the coming soon inventory that people don't know about.
Well, it's called a shadow inventory, and there's a couple things. One, we watch a lot of houses. So let's say that right now I'm watching 12, maybe 14 houses. And these are houses like I'll go in and say it's worth 165, and he wants 19. So it's going to be on there for 6, 8 months, maybe 2 years. But I know about that, and I know what it's worth, And so that's a shadow inventory of stuff that is a good house, but it's just overpriced, and it's sitting. And eventually they're going to sell because they have to acquiesce to what the market says. So that's a part of the shadow inventory. Homes that have withdrawn off the market, but we still know about them, they're not showing up anywhere. That's another part of the shadow inventory. Coming soon's are shadow inventory. So that is what buyers really need to be cognizant of. And one thing about working through the listing agents, or you don't have to buy our listings like Kelly and Morgan and all these people. They have buyers. They're buying houses all over the place. But they know what the listing agent wants to hear.
Right.
We're not looking for any trouble. I've already done my home inspection. We're good. I'm using First Heritage Mortgage. It's a local lender, So all of the things that I check off when I'm rating contracts, a big listing team already knows about that.
Right.
And we say, we use all the right words, man. We're not looking for trouble. We're easy to work with. All our stuff goes through. Because all that selling agent wants is, let's get it done. Let's do it professionally. Let's not nitpick. And I want to make sure you've got a solid lender and your appraisal's not going to come in whacked out.
Right.
So when you are going out as a buyer into this market, you need to take all that into account. Now, let me caution everybody with this and just say that there is tens of thousands of dollars at stake with every transaction. And I don't mean a little bit of money. I mean a ton of money. Seller turns down contract for $835, ends up with a contract for $767,000. So should you make a mistake, it's worth a lot of money. So we need to focus on somebody that you can trust. And whether it's us in this area or in an area outside of us, if you're dealing with an agent, you have to be able to trust them. I'm going to say this, that we know that we've got a good listing or we're going to be successful if the seller's asking us questions.
Sure.
If they're asking us things, we know we got a pretty good seller, and we know that they're going to listen to us, and they really want to know. But when you walk in and they tell you, I'm going to tell you what it is. I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell you that. Certainly we want to get information. We need help to determine things. We're working as a team. But when it's dominated by, I'm going to tell you this, and this is what it's worth, and then we know it's going to end poorly.
They're not looking for your expertise then, it sounds like.
That's the 15%. Right. And what we're again, back to the special sauce, or what's so good about it, is we have no problem walking away from that. Because if you have one seller, if you have 10 sellers and one of them is really going to take 90% of your time and you can eliminate that, then you can spend all that time on your other things. And you'll notice that real estate agents are kind of tough. They're edgy. You know what I mean? They're a little crusty, we like to call them, right? And we try not to be like that, but I can tell you, one competitor I have, they had $25 million withdrawal, which anytime something withdraws me, I want to kill myself, and $50 million of inventory that's not selling. Now, I don't know how you handle that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Tough to
I don't
sleep
know how
at
you
night.
get out of the morning. I don't know how you can be nice to people that you're working with when you've got all that pressure on you from all that other stuff. So I think that the reason why some realtors get crusty is they have to deal with that 10%, and they let them build up. And before you know it, that's all you're dealing with. Right. So, our policy is, let's sit down. If we can come to an agreement, let's move forward, because you're the 90%, and that's what we're looking for. And once you're the 90%, then you can act like Irish hospitality. Right. You know what I mean? Absolutely. It's hard to show Irish hospitality when you have somebody that's at 1 out of 10 beating you up every day. Why? Because you know. So, that's the point I got across to the team was, I'm just going to be more thoughtful about that 10%, and let's just power the love out to the 90% and not let the 10% suck out the three things that we have: money, time, and energy. So, anyways, do we have anything else? Fantastic. Julie, did I miss anything? I gave plenty of buyer tips. I got the smartest dang buyers in town. So, anyways, you can contact me at Casey at CaseySamson.com. And what I'll do is, if you're a buyer, I can put you in touch with one of our agents that specializes in that price range and that market, so they can envelop the market. And I can put you in touch with who the right agent is. If you're looking to refinance now that we're down to 3.5, or you are a buyer, remember, you want to be with a really, really good lender, correspondent lender like Mike Filan, a First Heritage Mortgage, and you're...
Yeah, it's MikeFilanMortgage.com. Or certainly can find me on First Heritage's website as well.
Yeah, or again, Casey at CaseySamson.com. I'll shoot you right over to Mike, and he'll get you pre-qualified. But, make sure that you said the word correspondent lender. There's three things you can be in the lending community: a bank, a broker, and a broker just takes it all over and tries to sell it to banks, and then a correspondent lender. The correspondent lender is the preferred one you're dealing with, and they have their own underwriting, their own closing department, their experienced agents, they're local, and they have local appraisers. So it's preferred by all the listing agents that you use a correspondent lender that has control of the entire transaction. Correct. And when the underwriter is sitting right next door to Mike can walk over there and fix whatever we need fixed. So very, very important. But if you need some help selling and you're thinking about selling, I am telling you it's best to do it now and not next year, when we've got an election year coming up. And who knows where interest rates, how long they're going to stay. All we know is right now we have practically no wars. We're an off-election year. We have interest rates as low as they're ever going to get. We have unemployment rate at 2%. We have not that much inventory out there. So if you bring it out, you're going to really have success if you're a seller. So the opportunity now is to sell this in the summer. And if you're a buyer, what's going to happen, why the buyers need to get in on this too, is as a seller's market progresses, prices will start to rise. So I think the buyers need to get out there, take advantage of the lower interest rates, take advantage before the prices really do start bumping back up again. And the fact that you don't have to worry about your job. Right. If you lose your job, you can find 5, 10 jobs. But now is the time to dig your roots in. Okay?
Absolutely.
All right, Michelle, anything? How'd we look on Instagram TV?
Instagram Live, Instagram TV.
Instagram TV?
We looked perfect.
We looked okay?
Yeah.
You didn't catch me from the bad side, did you? Anything like here is the bad side.
We were over here, so
yeah. If you get me on my moneymaker, that's the bad side. All right. Well, thank you very much to Julie for all the work you've done. Thank you, Michelle, for your great job that you're doing. Leslie, we hate to see you go. Leslie McRae is leaving us and going to Richmond, and I'm going to tell you, that hurts. That hurts me right here, Leslie. 703, baby. You need to come back. Listen, if it doesn't work out down there in Richmond, we're going to leave the lights on for you, okay? Just in case. But thank you for all the work you've done on professionalizing Samson Properties. You've really done a great job in taking us to another level. And you set kind of a culture and a platform that is a high bar for people to to see. And we appreciate all the work that you've done. So good luck in Richmond. I'm just kidding about having to come back, but don't forget 703. And we will leave the lights on for you.
Right.
This is Casey Samson with another edition of Coffee with Casey. This was the summer edition where we went over why it's the best seller's market in years, how buyers can react to it, how they can do what they need to do, and if you're going after those contracts, what you need to do to win those contracts. Okay? So I'll see you around. Again, if you're looking for me, it's Casey at CaseySamson.com. If you want to give me a call, 703-508-2535. We'll see you next week, next month.